Hey guys, welcome to Braving It, and braving it with me today is this beautiful woman, Hwalani Mabaso. How are you, gorgeous?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me, Lirato.
It's such a pleasure, and thank you for bringing your beautiful daughter.
Yes, my Cindy is here with me. It's important for her to learn and be exposed to this kind of things and opportunities.
Love it, love it. Okay. By way of introduction, so Hwalani is the Provincial General Manager at Ep2 Group. She is also the Executive Board Member at Women in Tech and is the Chairperson at the University of Venda Center of Rapid Incubation. Beautiful, beautiful work that you seem to be doing. Well done.
Thank you.
I love it when women stretch themselves and just, go for those big roles and responsibilities. Well done.
Thank you so much.
So, Hwalani, earlier on in your career, you were in communications, and then you left to establish your own communication agency, and then now you're back in corporate. So let's talk about the transition. Why leave business, and how did you know that it was time to let it go?
Okay, it's very important for me to mention that I've always had a very entrepreneurial mindset. I was raised by parents who, even though they had jobs, actually, had entrepreneurial things happening in the house. So my dad was a teacher, but he would be selling cabbages over the weekend. He would be selling oranges when they had sports activities at school.
Yeah.
So there was always something entrepreneurial happening in the house. And let's just say, as you grow, you also have to watch out for that point in your business where things start to decline.
Okay.
And when things were starting to decline in the business, I had to be very honest with myself to say, you know what, some of the things that I'm doing now are actually not in demand as much as they are. And then there's also the tendering aspect that came in as well. And my values in certain areas were getting clashed with some of the things and some of the demands there. And at that point in time, I've had my first daughter, my Cindy. And I think when you have your children, you want to do things that are of value. You also look at how you're spending your time, and you want to spend time with your children, but have that balance as well. And I had to truly start looking at why I was competing for time. Time for family, time to do business, and time to do a lot of other things. And then I decided that actually I do need something that will be a lot much more balanced, because at that time I was also into events. And we had started eventing, you're never home.
Yeah.
You are all over, you come back, it's Thursday, you leave, and then Monday you're back, and then you're starting for the next event. And really that robs you of the time to spend with your children. So I knew then that, it is an opportunity for me to reinvent myself. I had learned a lot in the business. I had gotten to a point where I understood the responsibility of paying salaries and being broke, by the way, while having a business at the same time. And that's what happened. So I had to let go to try and find something that will work best for me, but also for my children, and to an extent where I can actually be stable as an individual.
In a way, I feel like you've answered the next question, which speaks to that reset mindset. The importance of having a reset mindset, which is what you're saying is, taking stock of everything that is happening. What is good for you, what is good for your children, and coming to a decision that, meets everyone halfway. Would you say that that was your reset mindset moment?
I think in the world where we are now, there's one thing that will always be constant, whether we like it or not, which is change. And for anyone to thrive, irrespective of whether you're an entrepreneur or in corporate or your mom, whatever it is that you're doing, you need to have a growth mindset that says, when I have setbacks and when I have challenges, I will go back, I will learn, but I will need to find something where I can evolve, and something that says, okay, there is an opportunity for growth. So when I closed down that business, I remember it was in September, And I sat for like 3 months trying to figure out what was next for me. Then I got it because I remembered I had met a financial advisor at Liberty Life, and he had actually introduced me to my first ever financial planning exercise, something you don't learn at school. And that's when I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to go and become a financial advisor.
Wow.
So I went and applied for this job with Liberty Life,
Yeah.
and March was my first start date. And I loved it because I was learning something completely new. And with that, I earned the best money I ever did because I was not paying salaries. I didn't have rent to pay. I didn't have to worry about a lot of things, but I was doing something that was quite significant in terms of changing people's lives.
Beautiful.
And when I lost my aunt in 2011 to cancer, and realizing that there were certain things that were not sitting well in terms of her estate and all of that, that led me to that purpose, the purpose of having a job, but a job that speaks to making and changing people's lives. And that stuck with me.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I love that your why in that was very resolute and you knew exactly what you were going to do with that, which is, it has the power of changing people's lives.
Absolutely.
You speak passionately about side hustles.
Yes, yes.
You speak passionately about people pursuing a side hustle. And I think COVID just, reawakened that notion to say just looking at one income stream is maybe not enough anymore.
Yes, yes.
So you've just told us that you are very clear
Yes.
on what your responsibilities are now. I mean, you have these 3 beautiful responsibilities. Do you have a side hustle over and above that? Or do you feel like what you are currently, all the roles that you are currently assuming at the moment are enough?
I wouldn't necessarily say at the moment I've got a side hustle that I'm focused on. I think what I have learned is increasing my income streams in different ways. And sometimes it means starting as a volunteer and getting involved in organizations like I did with Women in Tech, and it's a volunteer opportunity. But out of that, I get to travel. Out of that, I get to meet other women. Out of that, I get to go and really learn something that I wouldn't necessarily learn in the space. So is that increasing money in my pocket? Not necessarily, but it is actually increasing my social capital, which equates to something that is money, just that it's not tangible. I'm getting to a point where money is not only just about a salary, but it's about having something to fall back on. And you touched on it. With COVID, a lot of people were focused on one thing. And what did COVID teach us? It taught us that if you were just having one thing and there was nothing else, when that one thing stops, then it happens that you're not going to have any other thing. So find ways of being in corporate, being involved in other things, whether there's money or not money, but always remember that a side hustle for anyone is important because there will be something to fall back on.
Whether now or in future as you're building it.
Absolutely.
Love it. So still on the side hustle, I'm thinking the traditional side hustle, which is what most people think, which is I need to establish a side hustle so I can eat now,
Yes,
I can enjoy now.
Yes.
And so basically I've got a full-time job.
Yes.
And the only time that I can squeeze in my side hustle, efforts is either first thing in the morning before I get to work or right at the end of the day after work. How do we juggle all of that? Because it sounds and looks like to me that there's no stopping. How do we do it in such a way that there is no burnout?
Yes.
Because rest is a very fundamental component.
Be clever enough as an individual who wants to have a side hustle and corporate and find things that are connected. Things that are actually one message but for different audiences. But I also need to mention that for whoever is out there, rest is non-negotiable. It means that in our business, we've got to say yes to the things that matter and no to the things that don't matter. As a person who's very busy, and this is something that I believe can actually help a lot of us, is to really understand that I need to find time in my diary to sit and meditate, calm myself. Out of that, I'm going to be able to visualize and contextualize what I am working on. So I start my day already feeling quite balanced. But besides that, find time to go and exercise, to have the right nutrition. Focus on that self-care, because burnout is not only a result of working around the clock, it's also not putting together the mechanism that make you function as a human being. You need to find time to sleep enough. Go out there and connect with nature, because Mother Nature has got a way of rejuvenating us.
Yes.
Get and walk and see the river flow. But lastly, the one thing that I practice, even in my family every single day, is to really having a mindset of gratitude. Because with gratitude, you are able to see the things that you're blessed with. Because when we practice gratitude, we are literally telling our brain to focus on what is positive. And when that happens, that fatigue, that thing of not resting is actually never going to happen, because you're always aware and mindful of where you are as an individual.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for that. I am a big fan of learning from lessons that come with nature. There's so many lessons that we can learn from that, because we are part of it. We are part of nature. And so nature was here long before we were here. And yet, you know, we walk around like it doesn't exist, like there's nothing to learn from that. And it's all free, you know?
It's out there.
Accessible, it's free, it's there anytime. Thank you. All right, there's an expectation, Hwalani. I think given your roles and responsibilities, you are quite senior. There's an expectation for young people who are starting out in, whether it's corporate, government, parastatal, whichever institutions. There's an expectation for them to show up and to rise up strong, you know, because there's this notion of, you know, how millennials are, you know, there's a way, you know. And so what we are wanting for them is to be hungrier, is to really show that positive attitude, is to work hard, and is to toil. So, and then you speak about self-worth, knowing your self-worth.
Yes.
How should young people be demonstrating their self-worth when they are starting out?
Society has actually taught us that your self-worth is through education, the race that you are, your gender, your level of how much money you make. But self-worth is beyond that. Self-worth is stopping being a people pleaser and sitting and say, what matters to me? What do I need to focus on as Hwalani? Because everything else out there can actually enhance who I am. So that authenticity as a young person, to understand who you really are and what you stand for, first and foremost for me, is quite important. We were raised in communities where you never actually looked down on your neighbor. You could easily go and borrow salt, borrow an onion. When you buy the next time, you go and you replenish them. So with that, it was vulnerability to say, in actual fact, I know who I am. Going and saying I need a potato doesn't mean that I'm any less. So to know that self-worth for the young people would be to say, I am good at what I do. I am positive that I will succeed. Because if you believe that innately, you understand your intrinsic value as a young person, nobody has to come and tell you otherwise. You are then able to go and tell your story as it is. You're then able to go and say, I deserve more. You will negotiate your salaries. You will negotiate and be in a position to really ask for what your worth is all about, because you've started inwardly. It was never about what matters to the world out there, but what matters to you.
This one speaks to how you deal with people in the workplace who are, I'm going to say, hell-bent on undermining your authority. You are a woman who's assuming authority with a lot of responsibility. And you are young.
Yes.
There is gender, there is race, there's a lot of other things that are there as part of the package. How do you deal with people who undermine your authority?
You know, that question, we always have to go back to, what is the issue? Is it really the fact that a person is undermining you, or has it got to do with who they are as a person?
Who they are.
Who they are. Because sometimes we tend to look at individuals and we think the way they are behaving or acting towards you is because there is actually something wrong with you, or they are undermining your authority. in actual fact, it is so important, that's the end actually, to be non-judgmental as an individual, but have generosity. And I like the generosity part because it's not generosity in terms of me giving. It's generosity in terms of believing that when you deal with me and I am your leader, I will, in my mind, be generous with thinking that Lerato has got the best intention of me. Before I start thinking that you undermining me is because you're undermining my authority. I need to understand that at the bottom of that, it is actually the autonomy of trust. And if you allow people to be like that, you will never look at it and say, by the way, you're undermining my authority. Am I saying it doesn't happen? No, it does. But you need to look at it as a leader and say, I know why I'm here. Leadership is a platform, and it is a privilege. So when you lead people, you need to understand that you will have people that are for you and people that are not for you, but it happens. You just have to find a way of being generous enough in your mind in terms of how you interpret it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And the last thing
Yes.
is, what is the biggest thing that Hwalani is braving
Oh
at the moment?
my goodness,
The
I
biggest
love
thing.
that question. I am literally a mom to two beautiful girls. And I think what I would really say I am braving right now is wealth creation and a legacy for my children. And wealth creation and a legacy for my children goes beyond just the money. It's about the values that I teach them. It's about leaving them in a space where, even if I'm gone tomorrow, they can be strong enough to stand up and understand that nothing is impossible. The sky is the limit for them, and they can go out there and dream they should.
Dream they should.
Yeah.
Did you hear that, baby? Hey, you're gonna dream? Thank you, Mommy.
That's it.
Thank you so much for your time. You honored the appointment. You came on time. You showed out in your yellow.
Thank you, bright as I am. I love it. I love
And more
it.
importantly, you gave us so much. So as we are planning, guys, as you're planning for 2023, these are the nuggets that you can factor into your goals and into your plans. Please like, subscribe. The channel is there for you to really just be empowered. That's really the purpose of the show. Thank you for braving it with us. Thank you for braving the episode.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for watching, guys. Thank you.